All right, my friends, welcome to another episode of the RPG Backlog. This is episode number 2 of Final Fantasy Adventure. And here again, we have a quartet. We have Tom.
Hello.
Anthony.
I'm obligated to say something now.
And Travis.
That was the most awkward intro I've ever heard. Oh, my God.
And
sorry.
Jesus Christ, we're off to a roaring start. My name is Larry, ProfPlaysGames, and we're here to talk about a section of the Final Fantasy Adventure that we discussed last week that I'm desperately trying to pull up, where we started at Wendell and moved all the way through to Jad. That takes us from Wendell, Dwarf Cave, Silver Mine, Gaia's Cave, Refueling Lake, Airship, Manos, Chocobo, and Jad, which now all those names make sense to me, but they did not last week. So now, thoughts, everybody? What do you think?
I find it funny that you call Chocobo as a section when it was just a character that you went to go pick up, man. Like, the other things are all places we went. And then one thing's like, oh, Chocobo. Well,
I'm just reading the table of fucking contents. Like, it lists, I was like, is this a location? Is this, like, I know it's a bird, but this is not a Final Fantasy game. This is a mana game. But actually, fuck, I think it's kind of a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Chocobos were created by the guy who made this game.
Well, then they're a mana thing, then.
Koichi Ishii, and he was really disappointed on how they were used, because they weren't in 1, they were in 2. And he was really disappointed in how they were utilized in 2, and he feels that this game is the first true introduction of the Chocobo based on
this game. Really? Well, I guess so, because you get on it and ride around, right?
Yep. Yeah, and it just basically said it matches his design and what he envisioned it to be. Mm-hmm. So
I would go back to.
Oh, I just said that. I mean, I don't know what it would have looked like before, but you hop on this thing and your move speed doubles or whatever, and you're impervious to harm. That's pretty sick.
Pretty good. Travis, sorry to interrupt you.
I'm going to go back to you and be like, this is not a Final Fantasy game. It's a mana game. Yeah, that's why it's also called Final Fantasy Adventure. So it's both.
Well, yeah, I think that's not controversy, but like, no. Is it a Final Fantasy game? Is it a mana game? It feels like there's elements of both here. So,
anyways,
there is tons of stuff from back then of them being like, because there's, what was it? The Saga games were Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. There were like some other name. The original Saga game was they named it Final Fantasy because these are all after Final Fantasy 2, and Final Fantasy 2 like blew the hell up in Japan.
Yeah.
Like,
they were trying to cash in on the label, basically.
Yeah. The other people wanted to make games, their own games, but they're like, no, we got to call them Final Fantasy so that we just ride the coattails of that game.
Yeah. Well,
and then eventually the sequels all kind of broke from that of those original ones.
Yeah. Well, this game has the Chocobo theme. When you're riding a Chocobo, yeah.
I was not paying attention.
This is the one Uematsu song in this game, according to Wikipedia, at least.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So there you go. Officially Final Fantasy in name and deed, I suppose. Mm-hmm. Although I guess the Chocobo is optional. Like it says, like, hey, there's an egg up north. You could go get it if you want, but I guess some people you could not do that.
I kept waiting because I didn't want to miss out on the experience. I wasn't riding him. He was just sort of tagging along, and I kept waiting to get to. I mean, my only experience with these guys is in the one that I really remember is when you have to like grind 1 billion races to breed them in Final Fantasy VII, so you can get the gold one and go get Knights of the Round. But there, they were able to traverse like particular terrain, and I kept waiting for something where I needed that to do it, and it never showed up.
Well, that exists in Final Fantasy 12 and Rebirth, I believe, and probably lots of other Final Fantasies as well. But overall thoughts? What we had a pretty positive impression last time. Has that continued?
Overall, yes. I mean, I have little gripes, but they're mostly about probably limitations of what they could do during that time period. And it's me nitpicking, but overall good. Story a little jank. And I don't know if that's translation or again limitations of the system. Well, I wouldn't think it would be that way anymore. I don't know. maybe Anthony knows a little bit more, because I know what we were discussing last time, there was limitations of what they could do in the text box because of the translation. And I don't know if this version of it's been able to do away with that, since the systems are so much more powerful and there's more memory.
I think this is just an emulation of the GBA game. They did not do anything else to it.
Clearly, because there's still a ton of typos.
Yes.
There are a ton of typos, but it's the story beat when we started off on this one is girl sees vision, random dude walks in, says, come with me. Girl's like, peace out, yo, I'm going with this dude who I've never seen before. And lo and behold, he's kidnapping her and he's not a good guy. I'm like, please tell me we're missing something, like something's lost in translation here somewhere. Because that was just so, like, dude, my 6-year-old daughter wouldn't even do that, for crying out loud. So I'm just like, come on, man.
I took screenshots through that entire section because I was like, this is so dumb. She's like, this man, I'll take you to a safe place. Thank you. And then, where did he take her? And the guy, your character says, I'll check. Goes outside. Julius, why? You helped me once before. What the fuck? This is terrible.
Later on, though, I think it's Bogard. He says something to the effect of like, Julius is good at disguising or something like that. Yeah, to make you feel better about making such a royal screw up.
Hey, this guy that you've known just stole your freaking friend right in front of your face, like, you dumbass.
Well, she was like, yeah, take me. This guy who I've been with, who has actually shown me that he can save me. Nah, fuck this guy. It's just an old man that shows up and says, I'll take you somewhere safe. Okay, sounds good. Just hop in my panel van.
Jeez.
I've got candy. Come with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Candy.
Literal candy, right?
Yes, that's why candy's in the game. This is actually a really fucked up game. This is about to take a turn. Tom, what are we playing?
Wow.
Yes, now we blame
I think
you.
might have got a bad ROM or something like that.
Oh, really? What's the story of yours then?
Mine didn't get that dark. You know what, though? I mean, yeah, it's a little hokey, but I want to give this one points a little bit for, I already brought it up, but like the fact that Julius is back, I think is kind of cool. That, again, I'm comparing this a lot to sort of some of the early Zelda games where the antagonist is briefly seen at the very beginning of the game to sort of kick off the action. And then maybe you often will not hear from them until basically, you get to the end of the game, you're about to beat things. I think it's kind of neat that they have this guy sort of duck in from time to time. He's kind of a constant presence. And then the same thing with Bogard, right? The guy had like 2 lines of dialogue really early in this game when you had no idea what was going on. But in the story, right, he's the one of the Gemma Knights who is a veteran of this war where they had to save the Monastery before, and the fact that he then shows back up to help you, and he's got his little sword and he's trying to poke dudes and stuff like that. I thought that for whatever reason, older games, it doesn't seem like they even bother a lot of the time. So the fact that there are characters who are sort of weaving in and out of this narrative, even though it's kind of clunky and kludgy a little bit, I guess I'm giving points for effort there.
Well, it's certainly for such an, I guess I would say old game at this point, it is really playable. And the story aside, which I would also say, like, how much did Bogard really help? He was maybe the most useless companion in my view, but he was poking dudes with his teeny little sword. It's true. But overall, it just holds up so well with the progression of the weapons and the different things the weapons do. And I'm just starting to, the bar we were talking about at the bottom of the screen that fills up and you can do some special move.
Yeah.
It feels like a limit break. Like we have a limit break here too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. It adds extra dimension.
And speaking to that point, that was actually at one point, there's like you use the chain to jump the gaps. And I got to some point and there was a gap and I'm like, oh, there's a little post. All right, let me get my chain and hop across. And it's like, oh shit, it doesn't reach.
Yeah, exactly.
What's going on here? And it's like, you know what? I remember, I spoiled some stuff. I read ahead a little bit. And it's like, I remember somewhere looking at some table and it's like, you get a better chain eventually. So I thought, oh, this must be some area that's sort of blocked off or whatever. And I can't get to it until I have the better chain, which reaches further. Fine. I'm going to go wander off somewhere else. Well, 20 minutes later when I get nowhere. It's like, okay, let me look at this thing. And then finally it clicked. It's like, I wonder if you get an extra square on the chain when you've got that meter filled up. And sure enough, that's how you hop across, which is pretty cool. It's just for many of them, it's an attack thing. But for this one, it's a traversal mechanic that's sort of hidden behind that little meter. And that's something pretty subtle that was neat.
I enjoyed that too. I didn't wander off. I kind of sat there for a second. I was like, I'm supposed to be able to do this. What's the thing? Oh, I've never done the limit break thing for this. Let me try it. And that was it. So I enjoyed that too.
I mean, they doing that with all the weapons. Like at one point in this, they get through where you need to go in the story, you have to cut down trees, which means you have to use the axe to be able to do it. And then last time we were talking about how the sickle would cut down like the marsh plants and all the other fun jazz. So it's kind of cool that they do that, but at the same time, I find it a little bit frustrating at times because the weapons don't have the same power level because obviously we got some of them earlier in the game, so they're weaker. And so when you're trying to max out your build, like your strength, when you're fighting, you're not at a disadvantage. It's like, oh, I got to keep swapping between weapons to where I can progress the screen.
Yep.
Oh, wait, there's these things that are like a higher level than what I've been fighting when I got this battle axe the first time round. Now it's taking me 2 swings to hit him with this because it's just low enough on the damage to where it can't one-shot him. Whereas if I switch to the other weapon, it one-shots him. It's a cool concept, but at some point in time, I almost wish they get to a point where one weapon can do more than one thing, right?
Yeah, my thing was just that, speaking to that, which was a problem, especially on the axe part, because you need the axe to cut through the trees, but then I don't want to be using it. It's the speed of the amount you have to go to the menus, switch, re-equip things. That's just like, I get it at the time. This is what it is, and it's a pure emulation. So this is the speed at which you had to do it on that.
But you spend a lot of time in there, which is sort of
you do, and
so much menuing.
And I think, I mean, like I said, that's alleviated as quality of life in future Mana games, but clearly here they're like, this is what they had and this is what they were going to do. But man, it would have been nice to have a better way to quick swap weapons.
Something,
absolutely.
right? Because we had the conversation last time about how I was kind of used to it with Zelda, the original one. But at the same time, halftime with Zelda, you would just select the boomerang or whatever it was, and you would walk around for hours with that. And only when you got to a certain point where like, oh shit, I need this other item to do it, would you switch from that to like the bombs or the wand or something else. But this is like literally every couple screens you have to go into the menus, you have to swap this. It's like, oh, I need to use a key. I have to go to the menus. I have to swap to a key. Oh shit! Now I went to this room and now I have to break a rock. I have to go to the menus. I have to swap to Madoc. Oh, there's things that are only like take fire or magic damage. Shit! I gotta go back in the menus. Switch to magic. It's complex, but I think they've almost made the game too complex for the limitations of what they had at their ability at the time.
I thought, I guess, I agree with all that. Thinking about it from like 1991, I was trying to put myself in that perspective of playing it at that point. Not even the GBA one, but the original, which I assume this is similar. I don't know. You said this was the GBA one, but the GBA one added story.
This isn't the GBA one.
This is just the original Game Boy.
This is the original
version.
Game Boy. Sorry if I said GBA. I just accidentally added the A. No, this is the original. The GBA one.
Totally different.
Yeah, a lot of different. I mean, it's the basic story beats, but they've added stuff, and it has a menuing system like Secret of Mana and things like that. Like,
I wonder why they chose not to do that one, because they liked this one better.
I don't know.
I think the idea was that once this, because right at the time this was Final Fantasy spin-off, and then it became the progenitor of all the Mana stuff. I think the goal with the GBA one was to kind of go back and revisit it through the lens as the first Mana game, and they sort of, that was the coat of paint, right? The Chocobos disappear, all the Final Fantasy junk is gone.
Right.
Koichi Ishii wanted to
that makes sense.
Really solidify it as the first Mana game, as opposed to this hybrid.
Right.
But they also wanted to flesh out the story more. It makes it longer, adds more, which I would speak to as like this part of the story. I was like, man, I don't know if you want to make this longer. This was just padded as all hell. God.
It really kind of was.
The airship killed me. on the fact of getting there and like going through the airship. It's a huge dungeon, and I'm like, we don't even fight a boss. I get to the window. I'm gonna save you, and I just get knocked off. And I'm like, what was the whole point of me getting up here?
Why did I do this?
I accomplished nothing. I
It's
got a
because
pendant that was immediately taken away.
Yep. It's because Final Fantasy games have airships. How do we put the airship in? We need to get you to like get some oil to get the fucking trolley thing for the dumb trolley puzzle maze, which actually that was the worst part for me.
How many times did you go around?
Fucking like 15, 20 times trying to get the fucking pixel perfect, like when you cross the screen to hit the damn thing.
Oh, I did.
And it's only 2 switches you got to get right, but
I got 2 switches.
One when you come back on, when basically if you get it wrong and it's cycling you back through, you have the option to hit one, and that means that you can't get it right on that pass through if you like trigger it too early. And I probably hit that thing 4 times in a row, twice on purpose, twice on accident. It was like, okay.
When you have to hit that one when you cross the screen, if I remember correctly, So a lot for me. Anthony, you said not very many, like first time, second time.
I did 1 extra loop.
Yeah.
Man.
So I did
what about you, Travis?
1 time to the start.
I got lucky as fuck because it was the second and third switch that you had to hit. And when I rolled through the first one with the first switch, I was like, I wonder if I'm supposed to hit that. As I just rolled right past, I was like, oh shit, okay. And then the next one showed up. I was like, fuck, hit it. And it's like, okay, switch me. And the screen loaded again. I was like, fuck, hit that one. And it's like, bam, okay. And then it threw me down the hole. I was like, oh shit. At first I was like, oh crap, I just killed myself. Was what I thought at first. I was like, fuck, dude. Well, I just fucked that one up, and I didn't save it before I went to this cave, so this is gonna suck. How far back do I have to go? And then it was like, oh, there's this dude, which turned out to be a walking shop, mind you, which was actually kind of awesome. But yeah, I got lucky as shit because I had no idea what I was doing. I just saw the first switch and I rolled by it. I'm like, I think I'm probably supposed to hit those.
Oh my God. When you're with Watts, the walking shop guide, your NPC that you can ask to buy things from, I got past the rocks. I had my Matic, and then I got past the rocks, went into a room. It's like, oh, I shouldn't be here. I should go somewhere else. Came back out. I was stuck behind the rocks, and I had no more Matic. So I was like, there are no enemies. I'm fucked. Mm-hmm. I can't. And then I put in Discord, what the fuck? How do I get out of here? And as soon as I wrote it in Discord, I was like, I can ask him. I bet you if I ask him, he has something. And I asked him, and he had the shop, and I was like, oh my God, thank God.
Did he? I didn't bother to ask him once. Did he have anything good?
He has
he had Maddox.
X cures.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Are you guys using curative items? I saw that. X cure is available now. It's like, why am I buying that? I haven't needed it.
I have so many cures. It didn't even matter. I'm like burning through cures just to
with them.
Get rid of them, just to get rid of them. Exactly, me too. The only time I use them is to clear my inventory. Because I find a treasure chest and it's like, can't open. I was like, but I need to. I need to know what it is. And I open it up and it's another fucking cure or whatever.
Well, hang on, because it could be worse. Did anybody get an empty treasure chest?
No.
This happened to me. I burned through some stuff in the inventory to make some space and go to open the chest and it was empty.
Oh my gosh. This game's just fucking with you.
I got gold and I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
And it's like, you just sell it. I was like, okay, sweet.
Why? Why am I selling gold? Just give me the gold.
But here's the other thing. Do you guys still have the bronze key in your inventory?
Yes.
I do. No. And I'm afraid to get rid of it.
Me too.
I trashed it.
Me too.
I figured if they were going to let me trash it, I could go back all the way to the beginning. I don't care. I'll do it. But I think I just read some description somewhere that it just opens that one cave that you never need to go back to. And I'm pretty sure that even if you did need to get back to that cave, those same alligator dudes, I think they just spawn it again if you need it. So.
Okay, because at least I'm not the only one who's been holding on to that fucking thing this whole time.
Nope.
Because I was like, dude, every other key gets consumed. This one's not. Shit. Maybe I need this for something else later on. So I've just kept holding on to it for no fucking reason. And yeah, it literally takes up space. I'm like, I wish this thing would just be used or go away. So,
you guys selling your armor when you get the new stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
so I don't have anyone to give this to, so bye.
Yeah. Except I haven't sold the silver armor this time around.
Oh, yeah, I still have that. Isn't that the latest one we got?
Well,
No,
when we got into Jad, I ran to the weaponsmith real quick just to see what he had.
Oh, I didn't do that.
he has gold.
And
He's
he
got
has
gold.
gold armor, so I bought that and replaced it. But I was like, shit, do I have to go back to that place again? Because they were like, oh, guy, I won't let you in unless you're wearing silver. Like, motherfucker, I don't want to have to go back through that shit and not have the armor. So I'm sitting there holding on to that right now.
Yeah.
This will
Good
be
point.
interesting because I totally blew through that. I'm like, oh, new armor, out with the old stuff.
The dwarf Watts is like, no, but we made that for you.
No, screw that guy, man. You take him through that mine, you kill all that stuff. He's not that helpful. You fight that giant centipede, which wasn't hard, but I felt like it was tanking a fair amount of damage.
It did.
And then it's all of that for the benefit for him to sell you this stuff at like many, many hundreds of gold per item.
Yep, that's right. Like,
Yeah, I think I was like, 300, 300, and 100 or something like that. Yeah, you spent almost like 1,000 on the armor set.
Which is still a joke at this point because there's been nothing else to spend money on. I have like tens of thousands of
so much gold.
181,000.
Yeah.
Oh
Just
my
even
fucking
display on the
God.
bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I have like 5,000. Jesus. Okay.
I'm pretty much in the same boat.
Money is not an issue.
No.
Yeah, so the screenshot I put up has 100. It's in Jad 18181. The problem is there's another digit past that the screen can't show.
Oh my God. I didn't
It's
even think
off
of
the
that.
screen. It's too long.
181. Oh my God, I didn't even see your gold. Holy shit.
Yeah, mine's 26 something, or no, 245 something. Yeah.
Wow.
Man, all right. I've only got 12,000. I don't know what I'm doing, but
I love when you get to Jad, and this will be the episode title. Welcome to Jad. Davius rules this town. I hate it. Okay.
While we're talking about things we hate, NPCs in towns and the way that you talk to them.
Oh, interacting with people in this game
So annoying.
sucks.
Like, get out of my way. I'm just trying to get around you, motherfucker.
Please stop moving so I can get away from you.
There is literally.
I need to go in.
Yes, get out of the door. Why are you camping the door? God damn it.
Which
I
get,
literally
they
have this note
inputs at the time, and they're like,
In my
fine,
book.
you just press into it because A is always, or one is always your attack, one's always your thing, and they don't want to double up. But I'm like,
Yeah.
then stop them from moving, please.
Yes, exactly.
Get around.
I have a note in my book highlighted with that saying interactions annoying as fuck. NPCs block your path or move into you, forcing you into dialogue whether you like it or not. And you know what I've discovered? Attack the fuckers. And they fly away from you.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, they don't get mad at you. If you hit them with your sword, they like bounce like 3 squares away from you. And they like when you go to talk to them, they act like nothing ever happened.
Good.
Okay. They're not like the shopkeepers in Elden Ring that won't just go ape shit on you.
Yeah, but fuck that interaction, man.
Oh my God.
Again, if you're gonna make it to where we just have to walk into them, then just make them not move, please. Like
The realism of them wandering around in random walks.
Because that's what people in towns or cities or anywhere do. Is they just randomly walk around in this pattern outside. You know. Yeah, I understand why, but at the same time, it's like, dude, just fucking no, please no.
Yeah, at least the shopkeepers are like trapped behind the desk. That helps a little bit. And somehow in buildings, it's not as bad because like a single room is not bad to navigate. But when you're dodging all the shops and things and there's corridors and junk, it's like, all right, this is.
That's one of my pet peeves with this. Combat sometimes annoys me a little bit just because it doesn't always knock them back when you hit the mob. It's like if you hit them, and now my kids are running by screaming. When you hit them, they just keep walking into you, and then you take damage, and there's like nothing you can do to avoid it.
Sometimes there's recoil, right?
Sometimes there is, but it's not consistent. Like if you go back to the original Zelda, like every time you hit something, except for the bosses, they would bounce back. And even the bosses would at least stun for a couple seconds to where you could move away. And it happens on occasion here. About 50% of the time they do stop, but the other 50% of the time they're just like, nah, fuck you, bro. I'm going to come at you.
Well, and sometimes they even seem to like shoot towards you a little bit.
Yeah.
Like as they're exploding or something like that, which is some physics goof there.
Again, I don't know if it's the limitations of the system or the time, but it's just kind of annoying where these little things kind of build up. Not enough to be like, I don't like the game. I still thoroughly enjoy it. But I could see where a younger version of me would have been like, fuck this.
Did anybody notice the screen, like the frame rate dropping when there's like multiple projectiles on the screen?
Dude, yes. The centipede specifically. God.
Yes.
It was like, the centipede's 2 FPS.
Yep. And honestly, some of that, like Travis, what you're saying with the combat stuff, I don't even think it's limitations of the time. I think it's this team's first take on an action game at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is just, they're young and inexperienced and experimenting into a type of game they haven't done before. And that's the stuff that doesn't get picked up on originally.
The polish, right?
The little things that they're learning as they go, and I'm sure this didn't have that long of a development time, to be honest.
Right.
Games back then did not. So
I'm still impressed. Like all those little minor annoyances are minor, and this is really playable despite those things.
I had to stop myself to like actually put it down because I didn't want to confuse for recording segments kind of thing. That was hard. And that's the thing. Every time I pick it up, it's like, it takes me a minute or two to kind of get the momentum going. But once you're going through it, it's pretty easy to just click on through.
I could finish this in like a day, I'm sure.
Yeah, it feels, if you look at like the walkthroughs or playthroughs or whatever on YouTube, they're like 6 or 7 hours long. You're like, okay, this is not a long game, even though the How Long to Beat has it at like 11 hours. So I'm trying to figure out what it really is going to clock in at, because I feel like we're, per this table of contents, sort of like almost halfway through the game, and I feel like we've put in 4 or 5 hours total. Well, maybe that makes sense then. That's about 5 times 2. Yeah, okay, that's good.
I mean, there's little gripes, like as I said before, they're little gripes, and they don't. But I'm sitting here looking at this. Tom, I don't know how old you were when you first played this game and beat it, but fucking kudos, man. Because there's times where I'm sitting here like, where the actual F am I supposed to go?
Yep.
Right. The forest.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
I was just going to say that. So this game is kind of interesting because it came out in '91. But it was re-released in '98 by Sunsoft and not Square, which is kind of an interesting, weird thing that there's probably a story there. But I would have been 10 then. So I was like 10 or 11 when I was playing this. And I can vividly remember this was definitely like having like the printed out game facts, a couple of pages when you were really, really stuck sort of thing. Because it was tough.
Wasn't Sunsoft like another name that, to get around the Nintendo thing, that you can only publish 3 or 4 or 5 games on our system per year per publisher?
Interesting. That's possible. I've heard of that, but
no idea.
I will Wikipedia that while Travis, you were going to say something.
Well, like cutting down the trees, man. I wouldn't have thought to do that to get to certain places, and you literally had to do that in this section to progress the story.
And most of them are stumps. Like 90% of them are stumps.
Right. So you got to get lucky as shit, and because back when this game came out in '91 and then re-released in '98, let's be real, you like 91, you're SOL, dude. Unless you've gotten the Nintendo Power on this thing, which I'm assuming there was at some point in time, but if there wasn't,
the hotline
God, call the hotline, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which half the time that was, I don't remember that working as a kid, but that's another story altogether. But just. What the F would you do, man? Would you literally go around just like, okay, I'm going to like, get lucky and hope that you hit the one tree that doesn't leave a stump one time, and then now you're going to be like, oh shit, now I got to go try and cut down every tree I can get to see if I can get through this fucking place. Right? Like using the chain to get across the bigger gaps, or like, oh, let's see if I wait for full to see if it goes further. That's a logical step that someone could make, but if you cut down a few trees and you keep seeing stumps, eventually you're going to stop.
But I think that sort of speaks to the what I'm finding with this game is that there is a kind of rhythm to it of, hey, if I just like wander around and kill things and look at screens, usually I find what I'm looking for. And if that hasn't happened in the last, 5 to 10 minutes, it means I must be missing something kind of obvious, because this stuff is subtle, but I feel like it's all of the same level. It's not like some of these things are really obvious and some of these things are really, really hard. They're all kind of around the same way. And so that's where, again, when I was lost and it's like, all right, well, I can't find it just walking on the paths that are already here for me. Let's start hacking trees, because I know one time before a little path opened up, and let's see that. So that's just been, there's like kind of an internal clock in my head rolling that it gets to a certain point. It's like, no, I must be doing something wrong. Let's backtrack and try and look at it a different way.
I must be the unluckiest motherfucker then, because not one tree did I ever randomly hit did it not leave a stump. So that did not go through my head at all. So I literally looked up like, where the fuck am I supposed to go? I was like, oh, go to the furthest tree to the west and cut that one, and then you can walk through. And it was literally the last tree on the screen against the water. That was the one that you cut, and that was the first one I ever saw that was like opened up a path. At which point then I started being like, all right, let's start cutting down fucking trees everywhere. But
it is a secret to everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
You still win though, Travis, because I didn't realize you could use the axe to cut down trees. I just wandered around and it was like, I'm stuck. I can't go anywhere. What the fuck? These trees are in the way. What the fuck am I supposed to do? I can't get past a tree. And then I looked at the guide and it said, use your axe to cut trees down. I was like, oh my God, you dumb motherfucker.
I just was like, axe, tree, let me try it. And it worked.
I'm glad that you just figured that out.
Got stumped. And I was like, well, that's fucking dumb.
You got stumped?
Yeah. That was a horrible dad joke.
Real quick, Sunsoft was not one of those companies. They were their own company. But in 1998, they re-released a bunch of Square titles. And one of them was Final Fantasy Adventure for the Game Boy. So yours had Sunsoft on the box, Tom?
Mine did, yeah.
Okay. You were a kid in 1998? Jesus.
I was 10 in 1998.
Oh, God. Okay.
Anyways, we're gonna just keep moving along.
Someone take us past this.
I'm just looking through my notes. We've covered most of the things that struck me. We didn't talk about it much. The airship, though, the little mini dungeon, where you didn't get to do anything of consequence. One thing that I thought was pretty hilarious was the fact that they reused the dungeon tile set. So this like airship. It has a stone interior.
Yes. I thought the same thing. I was like, wait, is this a stone dungeon in this fucking flying wooden airship? Why? Who made this shit? I always think about that in games like, I don't know, Legend of Zelda, like any of those dungeons, like who fucking made this dungeon? Yeah. Like, what the hell?
The masonry is superb.
Gotta suspend disbelief.
I mean, that's some powerful engines on an airship to be able to lift up, stone walls on the internal section. So, yeah.
It's also kind of funny because there's very little, and I thought this was interesting too, because they say, oh, he's on the airship, and you get to that one screen with that like little chain or something that you climb, but there's not like a lot of clouds or animation to imply motion or whatever. I like completely just bought it. I'm like, yeah, of course I'm on an airship, but looking back at some of the screenshots I took, I'm like, this doesn't look like an airship.
I can say that I didn't beat the GBA version of this game, Sword of Mana, but I did get to the part that was the airship. And in that game, it actually, it's much more like an airship. Yes, it's flying. It's much, much grander. I'm like, playing this sparked memories. And I'm like, oh, right, I did get to an airship part in that. I don't think I went past that. So... But
it's also like a running gag in this game, and I kind of forgot this, but I'm remembering it now. I think there's at least a couple more of these. Of the what's the dude Sumo, I think is the character's name, like falling off of like stupidly high things, because that's like how the game began, right? You get pushed off a cliff.
Exactly.
So I think we're on like time 4 at this point for that happening. So.
Well, it's a good one so far. I don't know. Sometimes when I revisit older games, they don't always stick with me like this. But this one, I'm really enjoying it. I feel it the same way where like I put it down when we get to the next spot, but I kind of don't want to. Yeah. But Elden Ring does call to me, so it's okay. The next section we have here, I'm going to read some names, some nouns that mean nothing right now. But Tom, can you tell us what sounds like a chunk based on your memory?
I mean, I think we were just picking like 6 or 8 of these or something like that. Okay. It worked pretty well.
I was trying to look ahead. I think
Journey Back to Wendell? Does that seem like a...
Yeah, Ish or Journey Back to Wendell would probably be maybe a Journey Back to Wendell. Get back there.
So for the listeners, that means we're going to attempt, best laid plans and all. Medusa's Cave, Davius's Mansion, Journey North, whatever the fuck that means. I assume it means moving north. Gollum Cave, always a cave. Dark Castle, Ish, and then Journey Back to Wendell.
That sounds like 5 towns worth of jumps. So
it does, but let's play it by ear, because if we get there quickly, maybe we'll do another 1 or 2, because then we could kind of chunk out the last piece.
Awesome.
Yeah, we'll see.
Who knows?
Lorem, the one after Journey Back to Wendell. Lorem also sounds like a town, in my opinion. So I like stopping at towns.
Next to Ipsum.
Well, I mean, we know Wendell's a town too, so yeah.
Yeah. Check in, get to Wendell, and see how long that takes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. See what monstrous levels some of you are at. My God.
Good Lord. I'm maxed. Are you guys maxed yet?
Oh yeah, of course. I was looking at Anthony's screenshot. I didn't look at the numbers. I just looked at the hilarious text. But his HP is 115 and mine is 72. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of levels.
I haven't really pumped HP all that much, but just I think mostly I've been leveling power.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
Power, and then some mana, a little bit of mana, not a whole lot.
Hey, when the werewolves just line up, they're like line dancing across the screen, and it's just a vertical 4 line. Like, it's just hard not to swipe them all at the same time.
Yep.
Whack.
Yeah, it looks like Lorem, based upon what I'm reading, is like another town.
Okay. So it's just a world of towns.
I guess. It's like, oh, talk to the king. Okay. Yeah.
There must be some hidden... Like, I think of Final Fantasy 12, which was the first arc we did, where there was just so much hidden shit, secret stuff, and just optional stuff. I wonder if there's any, like, optional off the beaten path, really cool, like, the best weapon in the game is over here, or something like that.
No.
Hasn't felt like that so far.
It hasn't. That's right.
Which
it has not.
I will say is actually strangely satisfying, though, to just play through it and to not be stressed about, oh, what am I missing? What are all the little hidden things? Like, you just play this game and this is it. Like, what you see is what you get. And I don't know, that's like it's made it a little more relaxing to just sort of grind through.
Yeah.
To me, I'm going to echo that. Right. I don't feel like I'm missing anything by not going around and exploring. Whereas when we did Final Fantasy 12, Larry can attest to this, I just started mainlining that shit hard at one point. But there's still a part of me that was negative, like, you're missing all this other stuff by not doing it. But I was like, I just couldn't bring myself to do it. So
it's the game that broke your completionist tendencies?
No.
Yeah. Mainlining that game, you maybe see at best 50% of the content of that game. At best, probably closer to 40% if you just go mainline in that game.
Ubisoft killed my desire to do everything.
Valhalla.
Oh my God.
Yes. Terrible.
That game.
Really terrible.
I opened the map up, and I think I was like 5 hours in that game, opened up the map when I got the news on that one. I was like, nope. Turned it off, uninstalled it, and I have never touched the game since.
I put 20 hours into that, and then same experience. Opened the map, I was like, I have no idea what the fuck is going on, where I'm supposed to go. There doesn't really seem to be a through line here. I uninstalled it too. And I loved Odyssey, and this was just not it.
Nope. Different team.
So
absolutely.
This is a breath of fresh air for me, where it's like, I don't feel like I miss anything if I don't go wandering around. If I just kind of go hit the story beats, I'm getting the full experience, so I'm okay with this.
Well, that's the nice thing about going through like the backlog, where there's a story to experience, there's gameplay to experience that we haven't experienced when we haven't played these games, Tom accepted. That we don't need to do every single piece of content in the game to get a lot of that. Same thing with Final Fantasy 12. I feel like I had a really great experience with 12, and I didn't need to do everything. In fact, maybe that would have made it worse if I did, for me personally. But
yeah. So I'm okay with not having to.
Yeah.
I'm
looking at the list here of like weapons and stuff. It doesn't seem like there's any like stuff that's hidden away. It's like it's either sold at shops in the different towns as you progress through the story. You find things in the dungeons.
Yeah.
That's that. I don't know if I'm like, sure, maybe some of this is could be missable in a dungeon. I don't know if it's off the beaten path, but.
Or if it'll be set up like Zelda where they're forcing you to try and get it because you need that item to get through the dungeon. Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out as we go on.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm okay with this as is.
Yep. Agree. Okay. Anything else for this podcast? Anything else for this section that we want to close up with?
Nah, I'm good.
No, I'm good.
Yep. Good stuff. Good times. Thanks, Tom, for recommending it. I am enjoying it quite a bit. We will be back next week with the next section of Final Fantasy Adventure. If you like us, please rate us on your podcast service of choice, and we will see you next week.